On October 4, 1930, the world's largest aircraft departed England on its maiden voyage to India. Its fabric skin was held together with patches. Its designer knew it wasn't ready. The air minister who ordered it to fly anyway was on board. 7 hours later, 48 people were dead. You're listening to The Unlit Room. Every story in here actually happened. That's the part that should scare you. New stories every day, Monday through Saturday. This episode's narration is AI-generated. The research, writing, and editorial decisions behind every story are made with care for accuracy and respect for those involved. Today, an airship disaster that killed more people than the Hindenburg, and a British Empire dream that died with them. Ardington, Bedfordshire. October 4, 1930, 6:36 p.m. The R101 sat tethered to its mooring mast, 777 feet of silver fabric stretched over a metal skeleton, longer than 2 football fields, the largest flying object ever built. Lord Thomson, Britain's Air Minister, stepped onto the red carpet laid out for his departure. Formal dress, diplomatic luggage. He was heading to India for the Imperial Conference, a gathering of the Empire's leadership, and he'd insisted on taking the airship. Behind him, 53 others boarded: engineers, designers, crew, stewards, officials. Among them, Lieutenant Colonel V.C. Richmond, the chief designer, the man who'd spent 6 years building this ship. Squadron leader Michael Rope, who'd designed the gas bag harness system. Major G.H. Scott, one of Britain's most experienced airship captains. The people who knew the R101 best were betting their lives it would make it to India. Light rain began to fall as the mooring mast released. The engines, 5 diesel Beardmore Tornadoes, throttled up. The R101 lifted into the October sky, nose pointed southeast. The Imperial Airship Scheme had been Lord Thomson's project from the start. 1924. The idea, Britain would build massive passenger airships to link London with India, Australia, Canada, the far reaches of the Empire. Faster than ships, more elegant than airplanes. A flying symbol of British technological supremacy. 2 airships would be built in parallel. The R100, designed by a private company led by engineer Neville Shute Norway, and the R11, a government project led by Richmond's team at the Royal Airship Works in Cardington. They were racing. Prestige was on the line, so was funding. The R11's first flight came in October 1929. It was the largest flying craft ever built, 731 feet long, 5 million cubic feet of hydrogen lifting capacity. It also had problems. The outer fabric cover, treated linen doped with a waterproofing compound, tore easily. The gas bags inside, massive hydrogen-filled bladders suspended in the metal frame, chafed against the structure. The engines were underpowered. The ship was heavy, too heavy to carry a useful payload and still reach India. Richmond's team knew it. They recommended modifications. Cardington was a small town built around the airship program. The hangar alone was over 800 feet long, one of the largest buildings in England. On clear nights, you could see the R11 illuminated inside, glowing like a cathedral. The whole town had a stake in this working. Between June and September 1930, the R11 was cut in half. An entirely new section, 46 feet long, was inserted into the middle of the airship. A 14th gas bag was added. The goal: more lift, more range, enough capacity to carry passengers and cargo all the way to India without refueling. It was a massive modification, the kind of change that would normally require months of testing. But Lord Thomson had a deadline. The Imperial Conference in India was scheduled for mid-October. He'd announced publicly that he'd arrive by airship. He'd made it a matter of national pride. The engineers at Cardington worked around the clock. The R11 was reassembled. Test flights were conducted, and during those tests, the fabric problem got worse. Tears appeared in the outer cover. Not small rips, significant structural damage. The gas bags were surging inside the frame, rubbing against sharp edges, chafing through the fabric. Patches were applied, canvas sewn over the tears. Richmond's team reported the issues. They recommended delaying the India flight. More testing was needed. The fabric had to be replaced, not patched. Lord Thompson said no. The conference date was fixed. The R101 would depart as planned. Micro Cliffhanger 1. And then, the day before departure, the R101 received its certificate of airworthiness. The official government document that said the ship was safe to fly. It was valid for one flight only. October 4th, the day of departure. Richmond and his senior design team, the men who'd built the R101, who knew every rivet and every gas bag, boarded the airship along with Lord Thompson. If they didn't believe it was ready, they could have refused. They could have grounded the flight. They were the experts, but Thompson was their boss. The man who controlled their funding. The man who'd staked his political career on this flight. And maybe they believed it would work, that the patches would hold, that the engines would get them to Egypt for refueling and from there to India, that British engineering could overcome the warning signs. At 6:36 p.m., the R101 departed Cardington. The weather forecast for the route deteriorating. Rain and strong winds expected over France. The flight plan called for the R101 to cross the English Channel, fly southeast over France, then continue to Egypt. From there, India. For the first few hours, the flight went smoothly. The airship crossed the channel. It entered French airspace. Passengers had dinner in the dining salon. White tablecloths, china, silver. A steward served wine. Below, the French countryside passed in the darkness, and then the weather turned. Airships don't fight bad weather the way airplanes do. They're too large, too slow, too light. A strong gust can push them off course. Rain adds weight, hundreds of pounds soaking into the fabric, and if the cloud ceiling drops, you're forced to fly low. Very low. By 2 a.m. on October 5th, the R101 was flying at 700 feet. In heavy rain, wind gusting from the southwest. The nose angled slightly down. The ship was heavy, struggling to maintain altitude. Here's what the passengers didn't know. What maybe even some of the crew didn't know. That certificate of airworthiness, the one issued the day before departure, wasn't a safety certification. It was permission to conduct a test. One flight only. Lord Thompson knew this. He'd been briefed on the fabric tears, the gas bag chafing, the modifications that hadn't been fully tested. He boarded anyway. And he brought the men who'd built the ship with him. 2:05 a.m. October 5th, 1930. The R101 crossed the French coast near the town of Beauvais. Visibility was near zero. Rain hammered the outer fabric. The ship was flying just above the trees, trying to stay below the cloud ceiling. Witnesses on the ground saw it descending, nose angled down, moving slowly, no faster than a car on a country road. And then, at 2:09 a.m., the bow of the R101 struck a hillside near the village of R101. Not a high-speed impact, a soft crunch of metal framework bending against the earth. And then, ignition. 5 million cubic feet of hydrogen don't burn, they detonate. The entire airship became a fireball in seconds. The silver fabric skin vanished. The metal skeleton glowed white-hot, collapsing inward like a dying star. Screams from inside. Men trying to crawl through the flames. 6 men survived, thrown clear or pulled from the wreckage by French villagers who ran toward the fire. 48 died. Lord Thompson's body was identified by his signet ring. Lieutenant Colonel Richmond, the chief designer, burned with his creation. Squadron leader Rope, Major Scott, squadron leader Colmore, almost every senior member of the design team, dead. The men who knew how to build airships, the men who could have told Britain what went wrong and how to fix it, gone. 3 months later, the R100, the rival airship, the one designed by Neville Shute's private team, was taken out of its hangar and cut into scrap. The R100 had flown successfully. It had crossed the Atlantic and returned. It worked. But after the R101 disaster, the British government wanted nothing to do with airships. The program was shut down. The expertise was scattered. The dream of an airship-linked empire died on a hillside in France. The R101 killed more people than the Hindenburg disaster 7 years later. But nobody remembers it. The Hindenburg had film cameras. The R101 just had a field of burning wreckage in the middle of the night. Lord Thompson was so certain of British engineering that he bet his life on it. He lost. And he took 47 others with him, including the men who could have told him he was wrong. When expertise dies, institutions lose their memory. Britain never built another airship. If this one kept you up tonight, good. New stories every day, Monday through Saturday. Subscribe so the next one finds you too. That was the Unlit Room. See you in the dark.